So let's get started with today's class. So in today's class, we will continue from where we left off. In our last discussion, we did talk about introduction to Azure part, right? I gave you a walkthrough of Azure portal. We did discuss on what is an account, how you get an account, free trial account, and what is a subscription, what is a resource group, what is resources in Azure, etc. Those things and all we discussed. And today we are getting started first of all with command line interfaces, how you can interact with Azure platform using commands. What are the options that is available for it? What are the options available from a command line perspective? When I gave you a walkthrough of Azure portal, I had told you, you can have this Cloud Shell functionality, which is here on top, right? So this Cloud Shell functionality can be used. And I think I did not explain you this earlier. So we will get to see, first of all, this Azure portal option, how you can use Cloud Shell from Azure portal, how you can use it. And the same command line options, you can set it up on your local machine. We will see how you can set it up on the local environment as well. And thereafter, we will continue on to our virtual machine topic, Azure VM. That is what we have to discuss first. So hopefully in today's class, we should be able to get started with the Azure VM. So let's first of all get started with this command line options. Let me tell you what exactly are the options. I have told you that earlier there are two things with respect to command line options. One is Azure PowerShell and another one is CLI. Azure PowerShell and CLI, two options are available for you. So how do you use this? So with respect to this CLI option and PowerShell option, both of this has been made available within Azure portal itself in the form of a Cloud Shell. Azure has given you something called as a Cloud Shell. So this Cloud Shell that we have, within this Cloud Shell, we have both options available for you. That is your Azure PowerShell as well as CLI. Both of them are available. So we have PowerShell options available as well as we have CLI command line, or also called as bash, CLI bash. You can just call it as CLI bash, even that would make sense. So don't get confused with the terms. Cloud Shell is the option that is available for you within Azure portal. Inside Cloud Shell, you have the option to enable either PowerShell or CLI bash. That's it. So let's go ahead and see how you can enable this option. So if you come back to Azure portal, you simply have to click on the Cloud Shell button. And the moment you click the Cloud Shell, in my case, you can see it's going to ask you about, it's directly taking me onto the Cloud Shell, right? There are no questions asked. It directly takes me on to one option, requesting a Cloud Shell succeeded and connecting onto terminal. And hopefully this will connect me onto PowerShell because that's the last option I had used earlier. If I remember it correctly, you can see here, it's going to show me PS. PS means it is PowerShell, by the way. So in your case, it might be different. When you click on it, it will give you a couple of options. So there will be options like, for example, do you want to have a PowerShell option with storage, which means persistent option, or do you want to go with a non-persistent option? Two options will be given to you. It's up to you how you want to go about it. The difference between the two, I will tell you. So what exactly is the difference between persistent and non-persistent? Maybe later on, some of you can do a screen share. And if you have an Azure account, we will try on this. We will try on the Cloud Shell from your account, and then you will be able to clearly see the difference. It will ask you, okay, what are the details it's going to ask and what needs to be selected? I will tell you exactly. So what exactly is happening over there? That's nothing but when you go and enable this PowerShell or CLI bash, it actually requires a storage, needs a storage for it to work. The storage can be persistent storage or it can be non-persistent storage. Persistent storage means something which will retain any files or anything that you have saved onto the storage, it will retain it. That's what we call as persistent storage. And the other option will be non-persistent. I mean, it's not going to retain anything for the session that you have. For example, if I initiated a session right now, then it will remain throughout the session. The moment I end the session, whatever data, whatever files I have added into this command line options will be completely discarded. It's not going to be saved anywhere. So this is the difference that we have. So a non-persistent option is also okay, but companies sometimes they might need to store some scripts or maybe some small files and all they might want to retain, right? So in such cases, it's good to have a persistent option. If you go for a persistent option, it will ask you, sometimes it will ask you whether you want to customize it. Do you want to specify the storage account and subscription, etc.? It will ask you, or it will go ahead and create a default storage account and it's going to give you access to the cloud shell. So this is the way how it's going to work. If any of you wanted to see that exact view, what we can do, once I explain you the things, I will allow any one of you to share the screen and let's have a look at your environment, how it is asking and what are the options you need to select. In my case, anyway, it is defaulting onto whatever the last option that I have selected, by the way. Now, here you can see on top, currently this is going on to PowerShell directly. In your case, it may also ask you, do you want to go to PowerShell or do you want to go to Bash CLI? That question also will come in. So it's up to you whether you want to run PowerShell command, then you go to PowerShell. If you want to run CLI Bash command, then you go to CLI Bash. We will do some examples for both of this right now. So you can see here, first of all, the first thing to be remembered over here is the moment you log in, this is just the default PowerShell option that you have. You need to understand which subscription has been selected. That is important if you have more than one subscription. In some cases, like in your organization and all, you may have more than one subscription, right? So you need to run a command, first of all, get -az subscription, get -az subscription. So this command is going to show me all the subscriptions that I have under my tenancy. So you can see this is my tenant ID that is being shown, my account. In that account, I have, for example, 5 different subscriptions. So I need to decide on which subscription I want to work. So in my case, I want to work on MS Brains, right? Either you can copy the subscription ID, this one, or you can copy the subscription name. Either of this you need to copy. And then you need to specify a context. Context in the sense where exactly you're working, on which subscription you're working. So I'm going to copy the subscription name, and to set the context, I would use the command az hyphen, set hyphen az context, set hyphen az context, hyphen subscription, and I would specify that subscription's name, what I have. In my case, MS Brain. I'll just paste it over here. And then if I press enter, you can see that subscription will be selected automatically. Not automatically, just because of the command that I gave rightly, it will select the subscription that is MS Brain. MS Brains. Now, if I say, for example, az hyphen account, get hyphen az context. So you can see it will show me what is the context that has been set currently. Okay, so that is confirmed. MS Brain subscriptions has been selected correctly, and any command that you execute will go against this subscription only. It won't do any changes on any other 3 or 4 subscriptions that I have. Now, for instance, let's say I want to work on other subscription. Then in that case, I simply need to run this set-az context once again and copy paste any other subscriptions details, in which case context will be switched over to another one. That's all what I have to do. So now that we have the context correctly set, I'm going to create a resource group. I have told you that earlier, you got an account, you got a subscription. Next thing that you need to have is a resource group. A logical grouping of your resource group must be created. Because when you create any service within Azure, it's going to ask you on which resource group and onto which subscription you want to place this. Subscriptions we already have. So the next thing that we need is a resource group. So by command line option, I'm going to create a resource group now. So what do I do in order to create a resource group? I need to say new -az resource grouh, new -az resource group. I will give a name for the resource group. I'm going to call it as, let's say, for example, demo RG or something. You can give any name, no space allowed, no special characters allowed. But apart from that, caps lock, small lock, no problem. You can give any resource group name, you can create it. You also need to specify a location where this resource group is going to be created. So this location is nothing but, if you remember, in our last class, I did tell you about regions, Azure regions. There are 62 plus regions, I told you. And in India, we have three: Central India, South India, West India. Or if you are in Middle East, you have United Arab Emirates, so your UAE Central, and Israel, Qatar, etc. In these areas and all, you would be having regions. So you need to specify on which region you want to create this. So I say new hyphen is a resource group, demo RG hyphen location. Then I would specify my location. For example, I'm going with Central India, right? I can say Central India. Central India, I need to specify. Either in this way you can give, or directly you can type Central India, even that is also okay. In this way also you can give. It's up to you. Central India, or if you wanted to give Central UAE, sorry, UAE Central, I think. See, UAE North is available. UAE, anything other than that, let me check. UAE South is not available. Only UAE North is available. Anyway, so you can select UAE North. So whichever location you want, you can specify that. In my case, I'm just setting it up as Central India. And I'm going to press enter. So you can see it will go and create a resource group in this Central India location. Provisioning state succeeded. One thing to remember about resource group is nothing but, when you create a resource group, this particular resource group, it's simply a logical unit. It's not creating anything physically in the backend. Nothing is there, right? So it is just a logical grouping. So if you create just a resource group and you haven't added any resources to that resource group, then it's not going to cost you anything. Resource group, it's not going to cost you anything. You can see demo RG, MS Brains into location Central India has been created. You can go inside the resource group and you will get to see there is nothing as of now. There are no resources currently. If you want to have some resources, you just need to create them. For example, I want to create a VM, then you would specify, okay, this is my resource group, demo RG, to which I am creating the resource, or project 1 RG or project 2 RG. So whatever the resource group name, that you can specify accordingly. And once a resource group has been created, you cannot rename it. There is no option to rename it. Max to max, what you can do is simply delete it. But you can move a resource from one resource group to another. For example, I created a VM inside this RG. Now I want to move this VM out of this resource group to another one. Fine, I can do that. I do have the option to move resources from one resource group to another resource group. So these are the things that we have at the resource group level. Just one more important thing, you can give permissions at the resource group level. So for example, you created this resource group for one of the projects that you have. In that project, there are 4 people working. Then for all 4 people, you want to give access to this demo RG resource group, then you can give permission at the resource group level, right? Instead of giving at the resource level, you can give permission at the resource group level. Thus, any resource that you have created under this resource group, those people will by default have permission to access them. Why? Because they are inheriting from the permission that has been given at the resource group level. Where to give permissions and all, we will learn later, not right now. Okay, we will understand that when we go on to Endra ID in later part of our course. So this is what we have done. We created a sample resource group. Now, and we also saw that physically within Azure portal. If you wanted to delete that resource group, then you can use another command, remove -az resource group. Remove -az resource group. You just have to understand the logical construct of this group, okay, of this commands. By the way, you don't need to by heart any of this command, because all of these commands are available online. And we know that on any job, when you work, you will have access to internet, right? Common Googling and stuff and all, you would be able to do that. So with that, you will be able to find the command. But if you have an idea, generic idea how the commands are coming, how it needs to be given, how it needs to be constructed, etc., then in that case, it's going to be pretty easy for you. That's all what we want from your side. No need of by hearting anything. And also, as you get used to these things more and more times when you do this, of course, they will start to stay in your mind. That's it. Apart from that, there is no need of by hearting anything. Anyway, so you can see to delete a resource group, I would say remove -az resource group. And then I need to specify name of the resource group. And then I would say, for example, I have a lot of resource group called as network voucher RG. So if you want to take it off, I can give network voucher RG and then proceed to say, yes, I need to type Y when they ask you, do you want to delete it? You can say just type Y and that will be deleted. So this is how you go and delete a resource group. Remember, when you go and delete a resource group, any resource that you have inside also will be completely deleted. Whatever you have inside it, everything will be deleted. So you have to be careful while going out and initiating a delete command. That's why they're asking you, are you sure you want to remove resource group? Blah, blah, right? You have to be double sure that you are deleting the right resource group. And also you don't have any working important resource within that resource group. That needs to be taken care clearly. Okay. And in our practice scenarios and all, you can go and delete resource group, not a problem. But I'm saying you from a company perspective, when you go and do that, you should be careful. Now there might come a question, how do you prevent accidental deletion of the resource group, right? How can I prevent accidental deletion of the resource group? So if you go and expand this settings option, you can see there is one option called as logs, right? Resource logs, resource group logs. It's available for resource group, for resources, etc. So you go to logs and you can add a log over here and you can specify, for example, okay, this is a test log. You can give any name that makes sense to you. You can add some descriptions over here about who put this log, for what purpose this log has been added, etc. Those details and all you can give. And you can specify what type of lock it is. There are two types of locks available, by the way. In our case, we wanted to prevent accidental deletion. Then in that case, you have to give delete lock. Go and select delete lock and you go and add it, right? Now, even if somebody is going ahead and giving the command, no problem, that particular resource group will not be deleted because there is a lock standing. Unless you go and remove the lock, nobody would be able to delete the resource group. So seeing a lock, someone would be able to identify, okay, fine. There is a lock on this resource group. This is not to be deleted without confirming whoever has added the lock, right? That's all. Let's try to delete the resource group now. So I'm going to use the same command. I will change the resource group name. I will say demo RG, for instance, and let's see what happens. Say yes. And you can see clearly cannot perform delete operation because following scopes are locked. What exactly is a scope? Our subscription. Within that subscription, resource group name demo RG. Please remove the lock and try again. Okay. So anyone who is having a higher privilege of access, they will be able to go and delete the resource group lock. And then thereafter, if you want, you can go and delete it. That's all. So this is what a delete lock is all about at a resource group level. Now, is it only for a resource group? No. You can apply delete lock at the resource group level. You can apply delete lock at individual resource level as well. For instance, inside this resource group, if I have a VM, I can go and apply the lock specifically for resource itself, for the VM itself. Then in that case, nobody would be able to delete that VM. But if I apply a resource group lock at the resource group level, do I need to go and apply this again at the resource group, sorry, at the resource level? No. If you have a lock at the resource group level, that is automatically applicable for any resource also that you have inside it. So anything that you try to delete, you won't be able to do it. That's all. And I think that answers first part of the question that came here in the chat. And one more question, what for accidental deletion of any critical resource? Same thing, you apply a resource group lock, okay? Or individually for a specific resource if you want to, protect, then you can apply a lock at that individual resource level as well. But adding a resource group level lock itself would suffice because that will protect all resources inside the resource group. That's it. Now, let me also tell you what is a read-only lock then. What would be the difference between delete and read-only lock? If you apply a read-only lock, nobody would be able to make any changes as well, not just deleting, but it will prevent changes also. If you apply a delete lock, currently I have a delete lock only, then I can go and do new deployments to the resource group. For example, I can create a new VM. Or if there is an existing resource, an existing VM, I can go and alter the settings of the VM. But if I have applied, instead of delete lock, if I had applied a read-only lock, in that case, nobody would be able to make any changes and nobody would be able to delete as well. No one would be able to change, no one would be able to delete. That would be the difference when I go with a read only lock. Read only will prevent all operations, both making changes as well as deleting. Okay, that's it. So higher functionality is there with a read only lock. It will do both. It will make sure you're not allowed to make any changes to any resource in that resource group or to the resource group itself. And also you cannot delete. If you go with a delete lock only, then it will prevent deletion of the resource group. That's all. So I hope that answers the question, by the way, in chat. And one more thing to add on to this, you can apply tags, right? While you create a resource group or even after creating resource group, at resource group level or also at resource level, you can apply a tag. What is a tag? A tag is something which is used for identification. We know there are tags on any dress, new dress that you buy, new shirt, new pants when you buy, there will be tags on them. Or when you buy items from grocery store and all, they contain some sort of tag will be there. Similarly, for your Azure resource also, you can apply some tags. For example, you need to know who created this or who owns this resource group. So while I created this resource group, I added a note onto this or a tag onto this, owned by IT department. This is owned by IT department. There are various departments in my org. And also I can specify, let's say, managed by, who's taking care of this? Managed by Shadil. Shadil is a responsible user for this. So anyone who looks at the resource group, they can clearly know now, okay, this is created by the IT department and this is managed by this guy called as Shadil. And any other details, any other relevant details that you want, you can add in the form of tags over here. These tags will also help you later. Like for example, you were using your Azure subscription for a month. Once after a month, now you will have a bill coming on to you. So when you get the bill, you can go ahead and sort the bill. You can sort out the bill with the help of the tags and you can identify. For example, I apply the tag owned by IT department and then I can see how much cost has been generated by IT department, right? With this particular tag, if I filter out the billing, I would be able to clearly see, okay, how much cost has been incurred by this particular guy is called as IT department. So wherever this tag has been applied, only then it will fetch that info. If there is no tag, it's not going to fetch that info. So it's very good to have tags as well as resource logs. Both are related to resource group, and that is why we went on to these two details over here. Okay, that's it. Tags are also inherited. Yes, tags also will be inherited. If you apply a tag at the resource group level, that is there on any resource within the resource group as well. Okay, that's it. I think it's almost the time for your break now. So maybe you can just confirm me if it's the time. I hope it was 9 o'clock what we discussed, 9 to 9:20. And you can utilize that time and go for your namaz and then come back probably after that. We'll continue on this. This command line options we have just started. We went through resource group options. Couple of things are there to be shown, including bash as well. Okay, we will go on to bash also once you come back from the break. Okay, that's it. So let's go for the break now and we'll see you after that. You can join in 20 minutes maximum. Don't go beyond 20 minutes. 15 minutes is our time, but considering it may take a couple of minutes extra, we will join back and continue at 9:20 IST. So you can calculate 20 minutes from your time. We can go now. We'll see you after the break. So let's continue our discussion. So there is a small correction on what we were discussing earlier. I was taking you through applying logs, resource logs, and tags, right? So we applied a resource log, and I told you the resource log will be inherited by any resource as well that you create. That is true. Like for example, if I go onto the resource group, you can see there is this resource called as storage account that I have created. And if you go to the logs on resource group level, yes, there is a log. And if you go to the individual resource, there also you can see the same log has been inherited. On the left hand side, if you go down to the log section, you can see that, right? The log has been inherited by any resource as well within the resource group. But that is not the case with tags. Like for example, if you look at the tags on the resource group, the tag is specifically to where you tag it. That's all. So here I have added a couple of tags. And if you go to the storage account, you can see the tag is not inherited. So if you wanted a tag for storage account specifically, you would need to add that. So keep that difference in mind. Resource logs are inherited, whereas tags are not inherited. You can see that here clearly. That being said, let's continue our discussion on the PowerShell part. So if I go back to this Cloud Shell now, earlier Cloud Shell has been timed out, and that is why now we have another one getting started. Okay, so here with respect to PowerShell command, we have seen some samples, how you can create a resource group, how you can delete a resource group, etc. There are many other things that you can do, like creating services, etc. All this can be done via PowerShell now. Since we haven't learned any other service right now, it wouldn't make much sense to get on to any other service creation and all as of now. Now coming on to bash, how exactly the bash command, CLI bash command works. So for instance, I would want to switch to bash right now. Instead of PowerShell, I want to go on to bash. Just confirm it. And when you go on to bash, you can see the structure, color, etc. Everything is different. And the way the commands is initiated, even that is also different, right? So I want to first thing, just like how we did it in PowerShell, I want to list all my subscriptions for which I would use a command, easy account list. And that should show me all the subscription that I have access to. It will give me more details. Like you can see the name of your subscription over here. One is Shadil's training. Another one, for example, Shadil's testing, some digital nest, Edureka, MS Brains, etc. So what I want is MS Brains, right? This is what I want to set my context to. So I'm copying the subscription name, and then thereafter I will execute a command, az account set, hyphen, and then say subscription, and give the name of the subscription over here. A double tap will give you the suggestion. That is how I got those suggestions that you see on the screen on the upper line. A double tap, tab option will give you the suggestions. And also it will have autocomplete as well. Can be used with PowerShell as well as with CLI bash. So if I give enter now, AZ account set subscription, and you can see MS Brain, that MS Brains has been selected now. And here, if I want to confirm it, I can use the command AZ account show, and it will show me what is the current subscription that has been selected. Okay, that command is incorrect, by the way. There is a typo. You can see, and that is why it is saying it is misspelled. So let me correct it. AZ account show. If I give, it's going to tell me, okay, this is a subscription that you have selected. Done. So if I want to create a resource group via Cloud Shell, how do I do that? I can give the command AZ group create. Remember, the commands are different. Compared to PowerShell, commands are different. So I'm going to say AZ group create dash name. I'm going to call it as bash RG. This time I'm going to call it as bash RG dash location. I would say that is Central India. Okay, Central India. AZ group create dash dash name bash RG dash dash location Central India, for example. So in that case, it's going to select the location, that is Central India, name bash RG, provisioning state succeeded. So meaning the resource group has been created. You can confirm it by going back onto resource group and just refreshing the portal once, so that the portal will pick up the changes. So here, if I go to resource groups, you can see bash RG has been created onto the subscription, that is MS Brains right now. So in this way, you can use the commands on both PowerShell as well as on CLI bash in order to create the resources, work with the resources, etc. Remember, with respect to the structure of the command, in Azure, to create something new, you set new hyphen AZ, and thereafter you have to specify what you need to create. So new hyphen AZ resource group, or new hyphen AZ VM to create a virtual machine, new hyphen AZ storage account to create a storage account. And to delete something, you said remove hyphen AZ and then the resource group name or whatever it was that you wanted to delete. But whereas when you went on to Cloud Shell, command became slightly different. There in the command that you used, it is nothing but AZ group create. To create something, you are starting with AZ, then you are specifying what type of resource it is. So it is a resource group. So AZ group, and then the functionality that you want. You're trying to create something, the operation that you want. Then you say AZ group create. So that is the way how you have to go about with your PowerShell, sorry, the Cloud Shell bash command, AZ group create. If you want to delete a resource group, then the command would be AZ group delete. So for instance, if I want to delete the resource group I created, I would use AZ group delete command. And then I would say, okay, what is the name of the resource group? That is, for example, bash RG. And if I press enter, that particular resource group will be deleted. It's going to ask me, do you want to continue with the operation? And it's going to be deleted. So these are the differences between the command line options that is available. More of this we will understand as we go forward, right? So just a structure we have understood, how to execute commands directly from Azure portal, that also we have understood right now. You can see there is a manage files options available for you. I told you, whenever you create a Cloud Shell, you will get an option to manage or upload files onto these command line options that you have. Sometimes some scripts files and all, if you want to use, then in that case, you could use this upload functionality. At the moment, it's going to non-persistent storage. But if you wanted to, I told you, you can configure persistent storage as well. So that later on, maybe next day, you ended the session. Next day, when you start the Cloud Shell, you wanted to retain that file and you want to get that file. In that case, you can put it onto a persistent storage that we have. Okay, that's it. I think this reset user setting. Yeah, so you can see this will go and reset everything, and probably here itself, maybe I would be able to see that. Let me see. So this is what you will see when you start it for the first time. Welcome to Cloud Shell. This is what you're going to see, whether you want to get started with Bash or PowerShell. I'm saying PowerShell. Getting started, do you want to use a storage account? I told it will ask you to go and specify a storage account. So this is the persistent option. Then you need to select the subscription that you have. So I'm going to say, okay, create a storage account onto MS Brains and then apply this, in which case it will go and create a default storage account onto the selected subscription. And that is where my PowerShell, or that is what the storage account which my PowerShell would be using in that case. If I don't want persistent storage, then in that case, I can go with no storage account required. In our testing scenarios and all, it is okay to go with no storage account required. Okay, that's it. So I hope this part is clear with respect to command line options. Those commands and all, I will give you one notepad file later, or I'll give you an access to a OneDrive location. So in that OneDrive location, I will post in our WhatsApp group, by the way. So therein the files that I'm using, the command files, etc., all that will be available within that OneDrive location. You would be having access to that. So that can be utilized. Where exactly it is, I will tell you later on the group. Now, that being said, Adding on to this, I told you this command line options can be done from your local machine as well, right? From my local machine also I can do it. So how do I do it from my local machine? See, if you have a Windows laptop, you will have PowerShell by default available within your Windows laptop. You can see Windows PowerShell ISE, Windows PowerShell, etc. It is available for you. Any operating system later than Windows Server 2008 R2 and Windows 8.1 or Windows 8 later operating system will have PowerShell by default. So you can go to the PowerShell option over there. You just need to make sure you have the version, PowerShell version 5 or higher. 5.1 or higher needs to be there. That needs to be confirmed. And thereafter, you will be able to execute your Azure commands on your local PowerShell as well. But only difference here is that you need to install the required modules because your PowerShell or Windows operating system doesn't know anything about Azure by default. So you need to install the required PowerShell modules over here. Only then it's going to work. So you go to Windows PowerShell ISE. I would recommend ISE because it will have an editor with it. Normal PowerShell wouldn't have an editor with it. Just normal Windows PowerShell wouldn't have an editor available with it. So I would recommend that you go with Windows PowerShell ISE. So go to PowerShell ISE. You say right click and say run as administrator. Admin access is needed initially for you to set it up. So in your office laptop and all, if you don't have admin access, then in that case, it's not going to work. Okay. Otherwise, if it is your personal laptop, yes, you will have admin access. And some companies would provide admin access to PowerShell and all. So if you have that, you can utilize it. Anyway, so you can see admin Windows PowerShell ISE. This is the editor which I told you, untitled.ps1. As I told you in our OneDrive repository, which I'm going to share in WhatsApp group, there will be a file called as install az module self.ps1. This you will get. You will have access to this file later. I will give you. So you open up this install az module self.ps1 and it will have all the instructions how you can set up PowerShell, Azure PowerShell on your local system. For instance, you can see step 1, always start PowerShell ISE run as admin. Validate PowerShell version is above 5. I have given a command over here, $ps version table. Select that command. To select something, just to need to click on the number, it will be selected, line number. On top, there are two options, run entire script and run selection. You don't want to use run script because we are not executing all the commands at once. We are executing them one by one. So whatever selected to run it, you have to use this run selection option. Click on it. It will execute and show you what is the version of PowerShell that you have. If you have 5.1 above, 5.1 above, then in that case, you would be able to continue with, or above 5 itself is fine. You would be able to continue with installing required PowerShell module. The rest of the instructions I have given you, how exactly you need to do. Just read through this and complete this activity before you come for the next class so that you will have an idea how you can set up PowerShell on your local machine. All the instructions I have given. Anywhere if you are getting stuck, you can let me know. In some cases, your PowerShell version is old. It is older than 5 and you're not able to continue with the installation. Then in that case, you can consider installing PowerShell 7. It is available as a tool. You just need to go and download the setup and have it installed. This can be used if you're using a Mac as well. And also if you're using any Linux operating system. In that case, you can go for this install PowerShell 7 from below URL. If this URL is not relevant for your operating system, then in that case, you can search on Google PowerShell 7 download for your respective operating system, like Linux or maybe Windows, whatever it is, you can specify. And in that case, you would be able to download the PowerShell 7, install it, and within PowerShell, you can go and do rest of the things, right? I have given a couple of options like, okay, you need to enable script execution policy. This is disabled by default in Windows 10 and above, so you need to enable it. And then you need to install the module and you need to confirm any modules that has been installed. And thereafter, you need to log into your Azure. Connect-AZ account option can be utilized. And with that, you have to log into Azure. Thereafter, you would be able to use create resource group command, new -AZ resource group, and also remove -AZ resource group. These command can be utilized. For Mac, I already gave you the instruction. You just need to download PowerShell 7 for Mac. It's available. Just search on Google, download PowerShell 7 for Mac. You will get PowerShell 7, install on your Mac. Third-party software installation you might want to enable. Install PowerShell 7. And thereafter, on PowerShell 7, you can execute these things. And it would work. That's it. See, creating resource group, removing resource group, all this I have given here. And Mac also, instructions are available here, right? Follow below link to install PowerShell, download the package and install. Either PowerShell 7 or normal PowerShell, both are available for Mac. You can go and download it. No, it is 7 only, 7.2. Okay, later versions might be available. This is recorded a couple of months ago, so maybe it's an older version. So you can search online and you will be able to find the latest packages and have it installed. And also, you need to install, you might need to allow the package installation from system preferences, security, allow install. All instructions have been given clearly. You just need to read through and try to get it done. Now, what about CLI bash? Can I enable CLI bash on my local machine? Yes, of course, even that is a possibility. You can enable CLI bash as well. How do you do that? For that, you have to download the CLI setup from this link, right? Go to learnmicrosoft.com, ENUS, CLI Azure, install Azure CLI. Just copy this link. Let me show you here. If I go to that link, what happens? Here is the option, how to install Azure CLI. You scroll down, install it on Windows, install on Mac OS, install on any Linux operating system. Okay. So you will be able to use any of this link and then get it installed. And once after you install, it is like any other package or software installation. You got next, and then complete the installation. Once it is done, you will be able to execute the commands locally, right? For that also, instructions has been given in this file. The file will be shared with you, and sample commands also has been given over here, right? CLI commands also has been given over here. You can utilize this. So I'll give access to these file, which I will share this within your WhatsApp group later on. This PowerShell script, is it available on Microsoft site or is it built by you? It is built by me, and it is simply copy pasting commands from Microsoft websites. All these commands are official commands only. You can find it. If you search for $PS version table, you will come to know it is a Microsoft official command only. So nothing to be afraid of. It's all official commands only. You would be able to execute it. You can see the addition, copy the addition in $PS version table. Okay, that's it. That's coming from Microsoft Learn only, by the way. Anyway, so that's about it. I hope we are clear with respect to setting up PowerShell. These all are our prerequisite with respect to using our Azure platform. These all are the prerequisite things that you should be aware of. Okay, that's it. Just a second, guys, hold on. Okay, so that's what we have with respect to the PowerShell CLI bash, CLI bash or Cloud Shell options, both of which Azure portal option as well as setting it up on the local system. We have seen both. Now we are proceeding on to our next module. Our next module would be Azure VM. I will just introduce you onto Azure VM. Rest of the things we will be able to pick up only on tomorrow's class, because we are nearing the end time for our class. We have around 20-25 minutes left, and rest of the things we will keep it for the next day, and therein we will discuss it in our next class. So to introduce you onto VM, let me just tell you a couple of details with respect to virtual machine, what exactly it is and all that. Virtual machine anyway, you know, but anyway, let me quickly recap it, and we will go and see how you can create a basic VM within PowerShell, sorry, within Azure, and that also we will see, and then we would call it a day. Azure VM. So what is Azure VM? VM means virtual machine, right? You can have virtual machines on your on-prem. We know that. You can create virtual machines in Azure. You can create virtual machines in AWS. You can create virtual machines in GCP as well. Earlier, when I told you about infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, etc., I told you about this, right? That you can create VM within Azure, and that's an example of infrastructure as a service. Azure VM is basically an example of infrastructure as a service. A virtual machine in AWS is called as EC2 instance, Amazon EC2. And in GCP, Google Cloud Computing Platform, it is called as Google Compute Engine. Google Compute Engine. In Azure, we call it as a virtual machine itself. Just giving you some comparative data, and that's it. And what exactly is a virtual machine? We know that it's nothing but you're virtualizing a physical server. On top of that physical server, you're creating something called as VM. And for that, we use hypervisor, etc. All those things we have discussed. In the case of Azure, that hypervisor that we use in the backend, that is nothing but Hyper-V, right? And their Azure platform is built on top of Hyper-V. Hyper-V is the hypervisor that is getting used by Microsoft, because Hyper-V is coming from Microsoft only. So for their cloud computing platform, they are using their own in-house virtualization software known as Hyper-V. Okay, that's it. So when you create a virtual machine within Azure that is getting created on Azure data centers on top of their virtualized servers, you are creating a virtual machine. That is what happening at the backend. You don't have to worry about setting up any physical infrastructure, any data center infrastructure, etc. All those things you don't have to worry at all. You simply have to go and create a virtual machine as per your requirement. So it is very easy, very straightforward. Whenever I need to host something, I need to work with something, and I want a VM, in just a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, I would be able to create a VM and start utilizing it. So very convenient option in terms of setting up the compute, right? If you have a cloud computing environment. Other than that, if it was an on-prem environment, you would need to find a dedicated physical server, and then you will need to go and install and configure it as per your requirement. And only then you will be able to do any hosting, etc. on that. But here, straightforward, you will get a VM readily available for you, and you would be able to use it. Okay, so that's what we have with respect to Azure VM. Now remember what Azure has done with it. Any Azure VM that you create within Azure, they are classified into something called as series and sizes. Series and sizes. Depending upon what type of backend physical hardware Microsoft is using to host your VM, and also depending upon for what sort of workload you and me as a customer is creating this VM. Based on these aspects, they have classified the total VMs that is available into series and sizes. The series goes by A series, for example. We have series like A series, B series, D series, E series, F series, G series, H series, and so on and so forth. Various series of VMs are available. What is the difference? Each of them will be falling into different categories, by the way, right? Typically, A series and all is said to be entry level VMs. B series is known as burstable VM. Burstable VM in the sense you will have the ability to burst the CPU, right? If there is a sudden CPU requirement, then for just couple of minutes, you will be able to burst it and it will work fine. Typically on any other series, you won't be able to do that. You won't be able to burst the CPU. There is a baseline CPU configuration that they will give you, and you are left with that, right? You won't be able to go beyond it. But in B series only, for specific period of time, you will be able to burst it and then go on to a higher level of utilization with the CPU. That is what B series is all about. D series and all is said to be D series and E series said to be general purpose VM, which we use most commonly. For most of the general workloads, you would go with either a D series or E series VM. And similarly, we have other classification like, okay, F, G, M, H series, L series, N series, etc. Various classifications are available. In each of the series, you will have different sizes. For example, in A series, we have A1 VMs, A2 VMs, A1 V2, V2 V3, etc. So on and so forth. Various sizes are available. Sizes are nothing but simply a classification of capacity, right? In A series servers, how much capacity? Starting from a low capacity, middle level capacity, higher configuration, etc. In this way, various sizes would be available for you. Your RAM will vary, your CPU will vary, your hard disk capacity will vary, other features will change according to the size that you select over here. Let's have a look onto it within Azure on Microsoft documentation. For example, if I go for Azure VM series and sizes, you will be able to. I want to share this link with you, and that is why we are going over here. Sizes for virtual machines within Azure. So if you scroll down, you will be able to see, for example, this is basically a identification as to what exactly they meant by the naming. For example, there is a general purpose DC ADS V5 series in Azure size. This is a specific size coming under D series, right? So D is said to be the family, C is a subfamily, feature A depends upon feature 1, the CPU information. The small letter D, it refers to the local storage. There is something called as local storage available. S refers to premium storage being available. Version simply denotes the version. You are yet to understand what is a premium storage and local storage, etc. That we will talk about later as we go about it. Actually, this is not the link that I wanted to give you, but anyway, let me share this as well here, just in case. There is actually one another documentation that he was referring to. Just hold on. Yeah, this is the one I think. Let me just, yeah. A series. What exactly series is? Entry level VMs for development and testing. Okay, fair enough. And you can also see basic and standard A series VMs will retire on 31st August 2024. This date is already over. This means only lower level A series and B series VMs, not all A series VMs and B series VMs, only low level of them, some of them. More details you will be able to find if you go inside this link. Coming on to B series, you can see economical burstable VMs. B series are known to be general purpose compute. Actually, they will also give you details like in the backend on this actual physical server in Microsoft data center, what sort of CPU they are running and what features you have, how much RAM you have, etc. Those details also they will give you over here. For example, D series VMs are typically backed by 2.3 gigahertz Intel Xeon E52673V4 Broadwell processors. That is what the processors that they are using. In some case, you will have Xeon Platinum, right? And various other types. What exactly you will get when you go for a D series VM, all the details will be mentioned over here. This is needed in some cases, like there might be some sort of application which is certified for certain CPUs only. It will run on certain type of CPU. Those kind of requirements will be there. So in those cases, you might need to know what exactly is the backend hardware and all that is getting used. It will also show you up to maximum how many CPUs and RAM, etc. you can get with these kind of VM series. So the details about each and every VM series has been given over here. D series, E series, E series more optimized for in-memory application, which requires a lot of memory. You can see SAP HANA kind of workload and all. It's better to run on E series. That doesn't mean SAP HANA VMs that you're creating will not work on D series. It will work on D series as well, but it will be more suited for E series. That's what the meaning of it. And if you scroll down, there is one interesting series which I wanted to show you. That is basically N series. N series VMs are GPU enabled virtual machine. You can see starting price $657 per month. If you run it for a month continuously, it's going to cost you $657 by the way. Okay, just the base VM cost is what they are saying. Actually, where to find the cost details and all for each and every series, etc., I will tell you later. There are methods available for that. We will go through all that as we go forward. So N series, what exactly it is? If you are looking for graphics, right? Sometimes if you are doing video rendering, right? and high-end graphics applications if you are using, then in that case, you go with N series. With N series, you will get Tesla V100 GPUs will be available for you. Okay. NVIDIA Tesla P40 GPUs or Tesla V100 GPUs, etc. These would be available. So if you need graphics capabilities, you want to create N series VM. For what purpose? Simulation, deep learning, graphics rendering, video editing, gaming, and remote visualization for all these areas. So this is the details that we have with respect to Azure Virtual Machine series, various series that is available for you. So let's go to Azure portal. We will create a sample VM, just a sample VM, and more. There will be more and more doubts coming into your mind when we create a VM because you will see a lot of options, but don't worry about them as we go forward. As I told you, we are just introducing you onto VM topic. As we go forward, we will explain more and more details on what are those options and all that is there you see while creating a virtual machine. So let me go ahead and get started with the virtual machine. I go to virtual machines tab. I can simply search on top for virtual machines. I can say I want to create Azure virtual machine. Click on it, and then you have to fill in a couple of details. So first of all, when you go to create a virtual machine, as I told you earlier, you need to specify a subscription and you need to specify a resource group. So I will select my subscription, and therein it will show you if you already have created some resource group. In our case, we created a resource group called as demo RG earlier. So it's going to show that. So you can select that resource group right away. Or if you want to create another resource group, you have the option, create new one option is available. Thereafter, I need to give a name for the VM. I'm going to call it as just VM1. Here also special characters, spaces, etc. are not allowed. Directly you can give caps lock or small letters, that both of that can be used over here for the VM size. So I'm going to call it as VM1. I would choose the region where I want to create this VM. So let's say, for example, I'm doing it on to Central India. Availability options, don't worry about it right now. For now, just leave it as no infrastructure redundancy required, right? What exactly it is, I will tell you later. Infrastructure redundancy options, what is available, how to utilize them, etc. I'll tell you later. In fact, in our earlier class, I had told you about availability zone. It is something related to that, right? You will come to know as we go forward in our upcoming classes. We will discuss more on these things. For now, you leave it as no infrastructure redundancy required. Scroll down. You need to select an image. What is an image? In Azure, you don't install the operating system by yourself. For example, if I wanted to create a VM, I cannot go and install the operating system as per my requirement. Typically, when you set up a VM or when you create a physical server, etc., you will have the choice to install the operating system as per your requirement. I'm talking about the installation. How do we install? We use a pen drive, we use a DVD, or we may boot from network, etc. These kind of options you will use. You will go through the installation of the operating system, which cannot be done within Azure because these all are VMs which is located in a remote location, right? It's in Azure data center. We don't have physical access to them. So I cannot connect a pen drive to their infrastructure. I cannot put a CD into their infrastructure. I cannot do network boot for my operating system or for my VM for this remote infrastructure that we have. Then how do you go about it? How do we have the operating system of my choice on that VM that we are creating? What Microsoft has done, they have created images for that. There is something called as a marketplace, just like you have your Play Store or App Store within your phone. Similarly, we have marketplace within Azure. Within this marketplace, Azure has made all these VM sizes available for you. VMs images available for you. So this image is nothing but an installed version of your operating system. It is nothing but an installed version of your operating system. So this installed version of operating system is readily available within marketplace. You simply go and select which image you want, whether it is Windows Server, which edition, 2016, 2012. From 2012, you will be able to get it. And you can choose which operating system version you want, 2012 of Windows Server or 16, 2019, 2022, etc. You can select it. and then you can continue with the rest of the configuration. Or if it is a Linux operating system that you want, even that also you would be able to find it. If I click on see all images, all supported options, it will show you. And you simply need to go ahead and select whatever relevant options from here. You can see Windows Server, Windows 11, Windows 10, right? Ubuntu Minimal 20.04, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Windows Server 2022 with SQL 2022, etc. Already installed, SQL already installed and available for you within Windows Server 2022, right? All with the latest updates and everything. You will be able to select it. Windows Server itself, if you click on select various flavors, it's going to show you. You can go ahead and select any of that you want. So in my case, I'm going with Windows Server 2019 Data Center Edition 64-bit operating system. Okay. What is this Gen 1, Gen 2? I will tell you later. What is this Generation 1, Generation 2? We will discuss later. Continue with the next. And here you can see size. I told you about the virtual machine size. By default, it will show you whatever the available VM sizes. If you want to be specific, you can click on see all sizes and select any size from any series that we discussed earlier. You can see D series, B series, your H series, E series, L series, N series. All this would be available over here. You would be able to choose any of this that you want as per your requirement. Okay. So typically in our classes, we say you go with V2MS because that's a less costly VM, right? You can go for this less costly VM and utilize it. For our practice purpose and all, it will be more than enough. It will come with 8 GB RAM capacity, 2 virtual CPU, 2 core CPU would be available, 8 GB RAM capacity would be available. You can add 4 disks onto this VM, and it is going to cost you approximately 5,927.45 INR. Okay. Depending upon your region, price will change. If you select UAE North, it might be a different pricing. If you select Central US, it will be a different pricing, etc. The pricing will vary according to the region that you're selecting. So I'm selecting V2MS in this case. You can create any of them, that's okay. But look at the cost as well. And go for something. If you're creating a Windows operating system, go for something which has minimum 4 GB RAM. 4 GB or higher RAM capacity is needed. Okay, that's all. So I have selected V2MS, select it, and you can continue with the next. Here you have to specify the username and password. This username and password that I'm giving over here is the login username and password for my virtual machine, not your Azure portal username and password. This is your login username and password. So that I have to give. And thereafter, I need to select RDP. Allow selected ports I have to select, and I need to select RDP. Since it is a Windows VM, I need to open up RDP port so that I would be able to connect onto it. It is not that I just create the VM and leave it as it is. I would need to connect and work on it. So you need RDP, remote desktop. For Windows VMs, we use RDP. For Linux VMs, we use something called as SSH secure shell. Okay, we will see that later. Anyway, today we are creating Windows VM, so we are going with RDP 3389. You select it so that connectivity will be allowed through that particular port number. The rest of the options you can discard for now. You can just continue with the next, and then once again next. We'll go through that anyway. Later on, we'll explain what are those options and all. Continue with the next, and finally you can click on review plus create, and it will go and validate all the settings that you have selected on the basics tab. If everything is correctly selected, it will give you validation passed, and you would be able to create a final summary as to what are the selections that you have made, including the approximate cost you would be able to see. Okay, estimated monthly cost including all the disks, it's going to cost me 7,585 approximately. I'm clicking on create. So you can see VM has been created. How long it took? Just 2-3 minutes. Within 2-3 minutes, VM is ready. So what happens? This is what the beauty of cloud computing, right? So if I'm starting a company today and I want a couple of servers to work with, I just have to come to Azure or any other similar cloud service provider. I can create some VMs in a couple of minutes. It's ready now. Already a VM is ready. The compute has been given to me now. I can connect onto it. I can deploy some website over there. I can start working with it. For example, I go to resource. I can see the public IP of it. Public IP address 74.225.166.196. You simply copy this, and then you do have remote desktop by default on your Windows machine. You can invoke it by doing mstsc, right? So you say mstsc/v and then colon, and then copy paste that public IP address of your VM. mstsc/v colon 74,225,166,196. If I give OK, it's going to ask me for the username and password. I have to go to more choices, give the username and password, whatever I gave while creating the VM, and then you're inside the VM. It is asking, do you want to connect? Say yes. See, we got connected to the VM, right? So this is how you have to set up a virtual machine within Azure. The basic starting point of a VM. More on this we will discuss as we go forward in our upcoming classes. Just one question here. It shows you the price in INR. Is it because you selected Central India? What if you created in UAE North? Will it show up the price in AED? Let's go ahead and test it. See, if I was to create a virtual machine and I choose the location, for example, let's say UAE North, Central India. Instead of that, I'm going for UAE North. Where is UAE North? Let me search for it. Yeah, UAE North. Did it change estimated monthly cost? No, it didn't. Okay, why? Because I have signed up this for Azure. I have created this account and subscription, setting India as my primary location. So if I have selected India as my primary location, then all pricing, even if I'm creating a resource within Central US, it is going to show me in INR only because they know I'm based out of India. How do they know? Because while creating the account, I specified my region is India. Now, you being in United Arab Emirates, while setting up an account, you used a card from UAE and also you set up the region as UAE, then in that case, your account will default to UAE. Anytime you go and create anything within Azure, it will show you the pricing and details, everything within dirhams or whatever the local currency that you have within UAE. In that way, it will be shown. That's it. Okay, so that's what we have. In case if you have any questions on anything that we discussed today, please let me know. As I said, the PowerShell commands and all that we used, the link to the file and also the OneDrive repository, etc., will be shared on the WhatsApp group today, and you can refer to that. And also, please make sure you practice using that script file which I gave you. With that, you should be able to go and create or set up this PowerShell and all on your local machine and see how it is working. There is something which you have to do before the next class. So that will be an exercise for you. And also if you're finding it somewhere difficult or not able to do anything, then you can let me know. Either you can drop a message in group or you can ask in the next class as to what went wrong. And then I will try to help you with that. And there was one question which I received earlier. How do you set up a subscription? I think Harun asked that question. Let me just quickly show you that as well. And then we will call it a day. Before that, just one more thing. Hyphen include management tools. What am I doing? I'm installing IIS web server on this local machine. Okay, just to show you something. Install hyphen Windows feature. Spelling is incorrect. It should be fine now. Yeah. Let that be installed. Meanwhile, let me go ahead and show you how do you create a subscription. So with respect to creating a subscription, you go on to subscriptions tab. You can search for that within Azure. So once you go to subscriptions tab, you have an option to add a subscription. Checking your offer eligibility, they will check your details and what type of subscription you can create, they will suggest you. You need to select from there. So free trial and all I cannot create anyway. Azure for students also I won't be able to activate because I don't have any student ID card. Pay as you go is something which everyone would be able to create. So I'm going to select that offer, pay as you go. It will take you to a sign up page. And here you have to complete the details. First of all, you need to log in by verifying your identity. So here, if I complete that, just a second, approve, sign in. Okay, so this is the agreement. They will take you through the agreement. You need to agree to that and then click on next. And then they will do an identity verification by phone. They will give you some, they will ask you to enter your mobile number. So you specify your country code and then you specify your mobile number, etc. over here. And you can specify, okay, you want a text or call, etc. And then thereafter, you have to specify, okay, what is your payment information, right? That needs to be given. So if you have a credit or debit card, those details can be given over there. And once you verify that, they will deduct some $2 from your account. That will be given back to you within next 3 days. Typically, that is the time frame it will take for it to come back. It's only to validate that your card is something which is working. Okay, so that is something which you have to do. And thereafter, just a second, let me show you. The payment information I'm purposefully not showing you because it's going to show me my card details over here. Okay, it'll ask you for details like, okay, what is your address and all that. Service usage address you will have to provide. And once after you have provided the address, you need to give the postal code, etc. GST ID if needed, that can be given, but GST is not required in our case. Individuals, right? And that is applicable only for India, by the way. Add technical support. This is where you have to go for the technical support. I think this was also a question which was asked by Harun. So you can see here, getting started on Azure, basic level of support, 2000 rupees per month approximately. Production use of Azure, right? It's a production one. And for that, you can use standard production, I would say, 6,000 rupees per month, 6,000 or 7,000 rupees per month. Business critical use of Azure, 66,000 per month. Okay, 66,000 per month. And in fact, this business critical use of Azure, this is also giving you uh, a standard, what does it support name? P2, P direct, partner direct subscription only. Okay, partner direct support only. So meaning, in this case, if you go with some hidden idea I will give you, you will be getting calls from Tech Mahindra people or Wipro people. They are the ones who will be supporting you. Okay, Wipro and Mindtree mostly. These are the companies to whom Microsoft actually offloaded all this activity. When you go for any of the support plan, if you go for it, the cases will be going on to them. They are trained. They are very well trained. And there is also Microsoft representative working with them, managers working with them to make sure the quality is maintained. Okay. And then there is another option, Premier Support. Premier Support you won't get on a normal pay as you go subscription. I told you that earlier. You need to have a subscription type, which is a, what is that name that I gave you earlier? The type of subscription you need to, I'm not able to recall right now. It is there in our class 2 recording or class 1 recording. It is there. Enterprise agreement, I think, EA. EA subscription you need. Enterprise agreement subscription, if you have, only in that case, you will get Microsoft Premier support. And this Microsoft Premier support, the support people would be the people directly from Microsoft only. Okay. Direct Microsoft employees would be assisting you with respect to helping to solve any issues that you have on the Azure platform. Now, beyond Premier support, there is also one more tier higher to this. It's called as Microsoft T100. The Microsoft's largest 100 consumers, right? The first 100 companies who's providing you the highest business volume for consumers. And for T100, there is also another level of tier of support available, in which case they will respond within 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes. You raise a case, in 15 minutes, you will have your initial contact. Okay, that's it. In this case and all, getting started with Azure, you may get response within 1 day, 1 or 2 days, depending upon the holidays and all that. And that's it. So this is how you need to add a support plan. And once after you have specified all the details, you can click on sign up and that will give you the subscription. You will see one more subscription getting added under the subscriptions tab. And thereafter, if you want, you can rename it. That's it. So I hope this part is clear. If there was any other question, Harun or anybody else, please let me know. Or if you're clear, we would call this a day. Tomorrow, we will continue on to more technical details of VM, right? How you can do additional things on the VM, what are the options we skipped, etc. That we will discuss in tomorrow's class. Let me know. Any questions?
Shadil, you said that one more point, to not utilize the credits, you need to do something.
See, for example, today I created a couple of resources. All those resources has been created to this one resource group called as demo RG. And today, at the time I end the class, for example, I'm ending the class now. So what do? I go on to the resource group wherein I created all resources. I click on delete resource group on top. Just copy the name of the resource group, put it over here, and then say delete, right? And confirm. So this will go ahead and delete the resource group in its entirety with all the resources inside it. And thus billing will stop. If you don't have anything running in Azure, it's not going to cost you anything. So it's simply that you have to go ahead and delete everything. Make sure your environment is clean by the time your practice is completed, and you will be all right. That's what I told you to do in order to save your overall credits and also to reduce overall utilization. Hope that makes sense. Harun.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anybody else?
Yes, fine, good.
Okay. Let me give you one URL. Just one last thing, 1 minute, you can leave. Just try to click on this link and see what do you get. I'm sharing it in the chat. Just click on the link and let me know if you're able to see something. Okay, you might not be able to see it. Hold on. Hold on. There is a small change that I have to do. Because I did not open one port that is HTTP. We'll learn all this, don't worry. I mean, all these options we will learn as we go forward. What change did I do right now? What exactly it was? All that we will learn in our upcoming classes. Okay, I have given you one link. Just click on it. If you have already clicked on it, just try to refresh the page and let me know what do you get. Are you able to see something? Just check on that and let me know.
IIS services, Windows Server.
Getting the Windows Server default IIS page, right? So what does that mean? We got a website now. I mean, it is a default page. If you were to replace that with your own code, then what happens? Now you will have a website ready and ready to use for you, right? So this is how we do it. We set up a VM. You can go and deploy your website. You can use it for any other purpose you want to. That's all what the point that I wanted to make. So try it, whatever we discussed today, try to practice yourself. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask. We will continue on to more details on this in our upcoming classes. We will call this a day now and rest of the things tomorrow. Go to leave.
Shukran. Thank you.
Done.
Thank you.
See you
Thank you.
tomorrow. Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.